Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into the world of guinea pigs,
Yeah,
but not as pets.
right.
We're talking about guinea pigs as like a surprisingly big part of the Peruvian economy.
Mm-hmm.
You might be thinking, guinea
Yeah.
pigs, really?
Yeah,
But trust me, this deep dive is going to reveal some fascinating insights.
definitely.
I think you're going to be pretty surprised.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's true. Guinea pigs have been a part of Peruvian culture and cuisine for centuries.
Wow.
I mean, we're talking way back, even before the Spanish conquistadors arrived.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a stack of academic research here,
Right.
including a deep dive from the Journal of Business
Mm-hmm.
that'll help us understand just how these furry creatures factor into the modern Peruvian economy.
Yeah, and it's a pretty impressive market.
Okay.
Did you know that some estimates suggest there are somewhere between 20 to 45 million guinea pigs in Peru?
Wow.
To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire population of Australia.
That's a lot of guinea pigs.
It is.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what this actually means economically.
Okay.
So what's fascinating is that most of these guinea pigs aren't being shipped off to some fancy restaurant in another country.
You're right. The vast majority are consumed within Peru itself.
Oh, wow.
And we're not just talking about a few families here and there.
Yeah.
The value of guinea pigs that Peruvians breed and eat themselves is worth hundreds of millions of sols.
Wow.
That's actually way more than the entire export market.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It really highlights how deeply ingrained guinea pigs are in Peruvian culture and local economies.
Right.
But there is a growing export market, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the prices for those exported guinea pigs,
Yeah.
significantly higher than what you'd find in a local Peruvian market.
Interesting.
It definitely seems like there's potential for growth.
So why aren't more Peruvian breeders jumping on the export train? It sounds like a golden opportunity.
It's not that simple.
Right.
Right now, the export market is dominated by just a handful of companies, mostly sending their guinea pigs to the United States.
Okay.
That makes it tough for smaller breeders to get a foothold.
It's like trying to break into an exclusive club.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here's another interesting wrinkle.
Okay.
A lot of these exporting companies treat guinea pigs as a side hustle, not their main gig.
Oh.
They might already be exporting other agricultural products and just add guinea pigs to the mix.
So they're not necessarily maximizing the guinea pig's potential in the global market.
Right. They might not be as invested in, say, developing special breeding programs or marketing campaigns specifically for guinea pig meat.
It's like those companies haven't fully realized that they're sitting on a potential gold mine.
Yeah.
But what about within Peru?
Right.
How are guinea pigs being sold and consumed there?
It's a really diverse market.
Okay.
You've got your traditional retail markets and street vendors, which are really important for local communities. But we're also seeing guinea pigs popping up in supermarkets and even some restaurants.
It's like they're slowly but surely making their way into the mainstream.
Exactly. And that's where the question of quality becomes really important.
So not all guinea pigs are created equal.
Well, there's a real push to improve the sanitary standards and overall quality of guinea pig meat,
Right.
both for those eating them in Peru and for potential export markets.
Makes sense if you want people to embrace guinea pig meat, whether they're in Lima or London,
Right.
you've got to make sure it's a high quality product.
Absolutely. It's all about building consumer confidence.
Yeah.
And speaking of consumers, there's one more interesting trend we need to discuss.
Okay.
It seems like people in Peru are eating guinea pigs more and more often.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. It's not just a special occasion food anymore.
It seems that way.
Wow.
Weekly consumption is on the rise, which means breeders need to think about how they can keep up with that growing demand.
So we've got a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, we've got a culturally significant food source with tons of economic potential, but there are some hurdles to overcome.
Right.
Especially when it comes to quality supply chains and really making a splash in the global market.
You got it. And that's just scratching the surface.
Okay.
In part 2, we'll dig into how researchers actually figured out all these numbers, where they got their data from, and the methods they used.
Okay.
It's a lot like detective work.
I can't wait to hear more.
Yeah, welcome back. So we've established that there are a lot of guinea pigs in Peru, and they play a big role in the economy. But you might be wondering, how do researchers actually figure out these numbers? It's not like they can just round up every guinea pig for a head count.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. 45 million guinea pigs sounds like a logistical nightmare to count.
Exactly. It takes some serious detective work to get a clear picture. Researchers have to rely on different types of data and some clever methods to make sense of it all.
Okay, so spill the beans. What kind of data are we talking about here?
Well, one of the key sources of information is something called an agricultural census.
A census, like the one they do for people.
That's right. Just like governments want to know how many people live in a country, they also want to track agricultural activity. So in Peru, they conduct these censuses to collect data from farms and households all across the country that includes those raising guinea pigs.
So they go door to door asking farmers how many guinea pigs they have.
Well, it's not quite door to door, but you get the idea. These censuses try to get a snapshot of all the agricultural activity happening at a specific point in time.
But I thought guinea pigs reproduce really quickly. Wouldn't their numbers change drastically even within a short period of time?
You're absolutely right. That's one of the challenges with studying guinea pig populations. They multiply so fast that even a small difference in timing could lead to big variations in the data.
So how do researchers deal with that?
They have to get creative. One approach is to use a technique called bootstrapping. Imagine taking the original data from the census and creating tons of slightly different versions of it. Kind of like making photocopies of a photo and adding subtle changes to each one.
So instead of relying on a single number, they look at a whole range of possibilities to get a more realistic picture of the population.
Exactly. But agricultural censuses only tell part of the story. Researchers also rely on something called household surveys.
What's the difference between a census and a survey?
Good question. Think of a census as a big sweeping overview. A survey, on the other hand, focuses on a smaller, carefully selected group of people to get more detailed information.
So like taking a sample.
Exactly. In Peru, there's a national household survey called INAHO. It asks people all sorts of questions about their lives, including their guinea pig raising and eating habits. By analyzing these responses, researchers can extrapolate information about consumption patterns and even get insights into how guinea pigs are being sold within communities.
So we've got the big picture from censuses and a more intimate look at household behavior from surveys. Are there any other data sources they use?
There's one more, and it's particularly useful when studying the export market. Administrative records like customs data help track the movement of goods across borders.
Ah, so if we want to know how many guinea pigs are officially being shipped out of Peru, we can peek into those records.
You got it. They tell us the volume of exports, the countries that are importing guinea pigs, and even which companies are involved in this international trade.
This is like a multi-layered investigation using all these different clues to piece together the puzzle of the Peruvian guinea pig market.
It is, and it gets even more interesting when you start mapping out where all these guinea pigs are located.
Where they actually map out guinea pig population?
They do. Imagine a map of Peru, but instead of showing cities and rivers, it highlights the regions with the most guinea pig activity.
That's incredible. It's like a guinea pig heat map of Peru.
Yeah.
What kind of insights can you get from that?
Well, it can help breeders and businesses figure out where to focus their efforts. For example, if you're thinking about investing in guinea pig farming or setting up a processing plant, you'd want to know where those guinea pig hotspots are.
It's like having a guinea pig GPS guiding you to the areas with the most potential.
Yeah.
This is fascinating stuff.
Absolutely. But we're only just getting started. In the next part, we'll dive into how researchers analyze guinea pig consumption patterns, how often people eat them, how much they pay, and how those trends are changing. Trust me, it's a culinary journey you won't want to miss.
Okay, so we talked about how researchers track the guinea pig population
Right.
and their whereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
But what about their culinary journey?
Yeah.
How do we understand how Peruvians are actually consuming these fur little creatures?
Well, it's not just about how many guinea pigs are being eaten.
Right.
It's also about how often and in what ways.
Okay.
Researchers use a technique called frequency analysis to figure that out.
Frequency analysis.
Yeah.
Sounds complicated.
Yeah.
Break it down for me.
It's simpler than it sounds. Think of it like this.
Okay.
Imagine you're a researcher trying to understand coffee drinking habits.
Okay.
You'd want to know how often people drink coffee.
Right.
Is it a daily ritual?
Yeah.
A once-a-week treat or something reserved for special occasions?
Okay, I get it. So frequency analysis helps us understand the rhythm of guinea pig consumption in Peru.
Right.
Is it an everyday food, a special occasion dish, or somewhere in between?
Exactly. And that can reveal a lot about cultural traditions, market demand,
Yeah.
and even the potential for the industry to grow.
Right.
For instance, if people are starting to eat guinea pigs more regularly, that means breeders need to be ready to supply that demand.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If weekly consumption is on the rise,
Right.
you don't want to be caught with the guinea pig shortage.
Exactly.
But how do researchers actually gather this data?
Right.
Do they sit outside people's homes and count how many guinea pigs they're eating?
Not quite. Remember those household surveys we talked about?
Yeah.
They're a goldmine of information.
Right.
Researchers can ask people directly about how often they eat guinea pigs,
Okay.
how they prepare them,
Mm-hmm.
and even how much they typically spend.
So we're getting a glimpse into the dining habits of everyday Peruvians.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I imagine consumption patterns can vary depending on where you are in Peru, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe people in cities eat guinea pigs differently than those in rural areas.
You're absolutely right. Consumption patterns aren't one size fits all.
Right.
Urbanization, income levels, and cultural traditions all play a role in how people incorporate guinea pigs into their diets.
It's like a culinary tapestry woven together by all these different factors.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk money.
Okay.
How do researchers track guinea pig prices?
Yeah.
I imagine it can be a bit tricky, especially since so much of the market is based on local communities and self-consumption.
It definitely takes some effort.
Yeah.
One approach is to gather price data from those traditional markets and street vendors we discussed earlier.
Right.
By regularly checking the prices,
Uh-huh.
they can create a timeline of how things fluctuate.
So it's like keeping an eye on the guinea pig stock market.
Exactly.
But what about those guinea pigs that are sold or traded within communities?
Right.
How do you track prices when there's no official price tag?
That's where those household surveys come in handy again.
Okay.
Researchers can ask people how much they paid for their guinea pigs,
Yeah.
whether they bought them at a market,
Mm-hmm.
traded for them,
Okay.
or even received them as gifts.
So we're getting a holistic view of the market from the formal to the informal.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
It is.
Yeah.
And by comparing those different price points,
Okay.
researchers can uncover some interesting trends.
Like
So, for example, are prices higher in urban areas?
Interesting.
Do they fluctuate with the seasons?
Oh.
Is there a difference between the price of live guinea pigs and processed meat?
So many questions. It's like solving a guinea pig pricing puzzle. This has been such an incredible deep dive. We've explored the data,
Yeah.
the research methods, and the cultural and economic factors that shape this unique market.
It's fascinating.
Absolutely. But the question remains, can this centuries-old tradition adapt and thrive in the modern world?
Right?
Can guinea pigs go from a local delicacy to a global culinary phenomenon? Only time will tell.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, it's a story worth following.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.